I am a domestic worker and this is my story. But it's not just my story, it's our story. By sharing my experience with you, I hope that helpers from many different countries can better understand their rights while working here in Hong Kong. My goal is to show that we have options at each stage of the journey, and we can make our own choices. We may come from different countries and at times feel like we're on our own, but know that there are hundreds of thousands of other helpers experiencing similar things. I began my journey through a neighbor who knew someone at an agency who was working in Hong Kong themselves. When she told me that the minimum wage for domestic workers in Hong Kong was 4,520 Hong Kong dollars per month, I thought it'd be a perfect way to provide for my family. The agency helped me gather together the necessary documents. I'll admit I didn't understand everything, but they said it was best to trust them, so I did.
The agency should clearly explain the entire process to employers and workers. Workers should read a translated copy of the standardised employment contract and make sure the schedule of duties section is filled in before signing. Both employers and workers are bound to this contract, and workers can refuse to do any tasks not specified there.
After signing the documents, they took me for a medical checkup, and then they sent me to the training center. I was there for several weeks, learning how to cook and clean so that my employer would be happy. I was surprised when later they said that the placement fee would cost me my first 6 months' salary.
Costs for securing employment and travelling to Hong Kong can range depending on the worker's country of origin. According to Hong Kong law, placement fees cannot be more than 10% of your first month's salary. If you earn minimum wage, that amounts to 410 Hong Kong dollars. If a worker thinks they have been overcharged, national consulates or their employers can help them report the agency.
After the training, I got my passport, said goodbye to my family, and began the journey to Hong Kong. When I arrived in Hong Kong, everything was different. The skyscrapers, the language, but I felt safe. At the airport, some volunteers gave me some information about human trafficking, but the agency took it away from me, as well as my passport, as soon as I cleared immigration.
A passport is key to staying and exiting the country, and it should never be taken away, either by the employer or the agency.
When I met my employer for the first time, they seemed friendly, but I quickly realized that things were different from what they had said in our Skype call. I didn't have my own room and was expected to share with the children. I also didn't get my own food, just the leftovers. Often my employer invited her family over, so I ended up cooking and cleaning for many people, which is not what we agreed to in the contract.
The space and duties should match what is specified in the contract, and workers should have 3 full and nutritious meals a day, or a sufficient food allowance to buy food for themselves. Workers should keep a daily log of their duties, note the date, and record how many hours they work every day, and how much time they are given off, and what food they are given. This will help to provide evidence if employers violate the contract.
Because I shared a room with the children, I was the one who comforted them at night. It was strange to be spending more time with someone else's children than my own. I also had little time to myself, to call my own family, or to rest. By the time I could make a call, it was too late to speak to my family back home anyway. The security cameras also made me feel really uncomfortable. What if someone was watching me change my clothes or go to the bathroom? I didn't even have a key to the house to leave when I wanted, so where could I go to have full privacy?
If an employer puts limits on these rights, workers should raise the issues respectfully and note their reaction.
It was the same on Sundays, which was supposed to be my day off. My employer often asked me to make breakfast or dinner, so I ended up only getting the afternoon off.
Workers are also entitled to have all statutory holidays off and paid annual leave. If a domestic worker does work on her day off, even for an hour, by law they should get a full alternative rest day.
My employer was usually good and treated me well, but there were times when she lost her temper and shouted at me. And even a few occasions when she hurt me. But she always apologized and said it wouldn't happen again. Because I still had 6 months in my contract, I didn't want to make things complicated by reporting her. I never bothered going to the consulate. Instead, I tried to solve my problems on my own.
Domestic workers should feel safe and free from harm while at work. Workers should document incidents of mistreatment carefully, note the date of the incident, take pictures of any physical injuries, and write down or record a voice memo of exactly what happened as soon as possible. Having these details is important when reporting a problem. Even if you don't want to report now, hearing them gives you the option to report in the future.
I just wanted to get through my contract so I could change employers without having a problem on my record. If I complained, a future employer or agency might think I'm a troublemaker and might make it hard for me to get more work. Besides, even with these problems, the situation was still better than other places I had worked.
If you don't report bad behaviour, then it is likely to continue. Taking action can be hard and time-consuming, so if you don't want to do it now, report it confidentially, for example, to a labour union, in case you change your mind later.
I saw the news stories about workers like Ariana who were beaten badly by their employers, or baby Jane, who was fired when she got sick. But my situation wasn't that serious, so I didn't feel that complaining to my employer was worth it.
They should voice their concerns to their employers if they are being mistreated, and refuse to do work that is unsafe or inappropriate, like washing outside windows in a high-rise or giving massages. When a worker speaks up and clearly communicates their concerns, then workers and employers can have a better working relationship.
My employer gave me a loan to help repay the cost of coming to Hong Kong, which is another reason I didn't want to have any trouble with them.
When domestic workers borrow money for their employers or a loan shark, it puts a strain on the working relationship. Workers can get financial planning assistance through organisations like Enrich to avoid taking out loans. If workers do take out a loan, the terms should be fair and clear, and they should be sure to have a signed agreement that they have carefully read before signing.
When I became aware of my rights and talked to my friends on our day off, I realized that I wasn't alone, that I had a support network to turn to. I also became aware of the limits of my job and what my employer can and cannot ask of me. I see now that only if we all stand up together can we improve our working conditions.
Domestic workers are the backbone of Hong Kong society, and they deserve respect. Their issues affect everyone in the city. Imagine Hong Kong without domestic workers. Take advantage of the resources out there that are designed to help domestic workers and their employers at consulates, unions, or local groups. You can report and seek assistance at your consulate, such as the Filipino Labour Attaché, or the Indonesia Labour Office, the Hong Kong Labour Department or Police, or with NGOs or shelters like FADWU, Bethune House, or the Mission for Migrant Workers.